طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Before we get started with tonight's Q&A, it's a book here I think it's very important for us to know about and read. The book is called Marital Discord, Al-Nushuz. Its definition, cases, causes, means of protection from it, and its remedy from the Quran and Sunnah by Dr. Salih ibn Ghanim al-Sadlan, Professor at College of Sharia, Muhammad ibn Saud Islamic University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, translated by Jamal al-Din M. Zarabozo. This is a pretty old book. The author, we know the Sheikh, has passed away. This is 1996. Okay? To many young brothers today, that's what? An eon ago. Seems like yesterday to me. At the end of the day, this is a very beneficial book. Very beneficial translation. Many people, they have marital discord and they don't even realize it. Many people suffer from marital discord and they don't realize it, even if they're not married, such as your mother and father, okay? Your older brother or younger sister, or whatever the case may be. It touches all of us on one level or another. So the author talks about the linguistic and technical definition of al-nushuz. He talks about nushuz on the part of the wife, al-nushuz on the part of the husband. The difference between al-nushuz and al-irad. It says here, al-irad, supposed to be al-i'rad, shunning and avoidance. Types or causes or cases of al-nushuz. Speech, by deed, by the wife and or by the husband. Trace back to the wife, etc. He discusses the whole thing, the causes, the cures. It's a very beneficial read. It's only 70 pages. You can finish it in an hour, 30 minutes, depending on how fast or how quick you read. At worst, a day. No matter how slow you read, I don't think anyone can't read 70 pages in a day. If you're working, if you have children, have a wife, on your break, coffee break, in the airport, on the airplane, you can finish the book. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah surely knows best.
AJ, Columbus, Ohio. Is acting in movies haram?
Question is from AJ from Columbus, Ohio. Is acting in movies haram? Muslims, in general, should not act. In general. Sometimes, in certain instances, it may be okay to act, according to certain scholars, with regards to plays. Plays which are considered to be educational. Plays which are a benefit for children and young adults and things like this. As long as they're done in the proper setting, not mocking or imitating someone, disrespecting or desecrating one of the prophets or the messengers, something like this. If that's not the case, then the concept of movies and Hollywood and Bollywood and things like this, in general, Muslims should not be involved in those things. And Allah knows best.
Hisham B, Barcelona, Spain. Is it obligatory to pray with it?
Question is from Barcelona, Spain. Is it obligatory to pray witr? Tayyib. Most of the ulama of Islam hold the view that witr is optional. Witr is optional. That's the view of most of the scholars of Islam. And some scholars may hold the view that it's obligatory. And some say that the Prophet ﷺ had to pray at night. As far as for the average 9 to 5 Muslim, inshallah ta'ala, it's a very highly recommended thing to do, and it shouldn't be left off without an excuse or a reason. Wallahu alam.
Brother, where's the bit wudu? No? Yes, thank you. Okay. This way, right there.
So, A.B. Brooklyn, New York. Assalamu alaikum. At what age should boys and girls be separated if they are not family to one another?
Where is it from?
Brooklyn, New York.
Questions from Brooklyn, New York. At what age should the opposite sex be separated, or the genders be, segregated if they're not family? There is no one specific rule when they're younger. They're not pubescent. There's a rule with regards to them sleeping in the bed under one cover, one quilt, one comforter. وَفَرِّقُوا بَيْنَهُمْ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. That's at the age of 10. But even before the age of 10, if you don't have to do it, then it shouldn't be done. If boys and girls don't need to be together all of the time, then they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be, even at a young age. Children develop differently, different levels of maturity and understanding, let alone the influence of hormones, genes, music, video games, TV, etc. So the general concept is that they should be separated if there's no need for them to be together all of the time. Of course, there's going to be some congregation in the school, at a playground, in the marketplace, something general. But them being together all of the time, eating, sleeping, traveling, sitting, learning, studying all of the time, if it doesn't have to be done, it shouldn't be done, even at a young age. If you were looking for a definitive age, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, وهكذا. Wallahu alam.
It shows POTS, London, UK. Arafidi said salam to me on Twitter, and I replied saying, Tuf alayk. Is this allowed?
Question is from, you said London?
London, UK.
Arafidi says, Salamun alayk. And I said to him, what?
Tuf alayk.
Duf alayk. Is that allowed? At the end of the day, it depends on why he was saying salams to you. Do you want to argue and debate? Is he trying to learn about the correct way? Allahu alam. If somebody's coming to you and they're trying to learn, that's one thing. Someone is trying to debate and spit venom on you is another thing. Okay? Can we say that Rafidi people are non-Muslim? Each and every single one of them? That's an issue. Do we say that they are generally kuffar? Their aqidah is of kufr and shirk? That's an issue. Alright? What's important is that Allah tells us to say that which is best. Whether it be a non-Muslim, a kafir, a mushrik, say that which is best. Say that which is best and try to avoid unnecessary conflict. Even if a non-Muslim is to give you salams, there's a way in which you can avoid conflict. Alright? And it also depends, and I think if you know the person. If someone is evil, you know that they're evil, and they're trying to start some evilness, that's one thing. Versus a person that you think and feel is a Rafidi or Shi'i, and they say Assalamu alaikum. It depends. Wallahu alam.
Initial FK, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Ustad. How do we deal with the hadith of Waraqah who claimed that Jibreel had come to Musa when this is not commonly accepted?
Repeat the question again.
Initials FK, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Ustad. How do we deal with the hadith of Waraqah who claimed that Jibreel had come to Musa when this is not commonly accepted?
Questions from London. How do we deal with the hadith of Waraqah ibn Nawfal who said that Jibreel came to Musa when this isn't commonly accepted? Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he said, إِذَا صَحَ الْحَدِيث فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. As long as the hadith is authentic, then that's my school of thought. So if the hadith of Waraqah ibn Nawfal is in Sahih Bukhari, and there are no scholars who criticized the hadith and said it was weak or a mistake in Sahih Bukhari, we accept it. It doesn't mean we have to wait and see what people commonly accept and think about. La, abadan. Doesn't mean that. إِذَا صَحَ الْحَدِيث فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. Hadith is authentic. He says, هَذَا النَّامُوس. This is the one that came to Musa. That's what we accept. Did Jibreel come to Musa for everything? Did Musa receive direct revelation from Allah? Did he speak with him directly? That's something that we don't deny. That's affirmed in the Quran. And it's affirmed in the Hadith as well. But it doesn't mean that Jibreel never went to Musa. It never came to Musa, ever. Wallahu alam.
Initials HG, London, UK. If the Imam says salam early and the people behind him say subhanallah and don't end the prayer, what do they do?
Repeat the question again.
Initials HG, London, UK. If the Imam says salam early and the people behind him say subhanallah and don't end the prayer, what do they do?
The Imam salams out too early, out of forgetfulness. And the people say subhanallah, and then they don't follow him, or they do?
End the prayer.
They continue praying. What's done?
What do they do?
Type. The general rule is that you're not allowed to follow the Imam upon a clear-cut mistake in which there's no room to fix. The Imam stands up for the 5th rak'ah of Isha, and you're sure of it, you don't follow him. The Imam stands up for the 4th rak'ah of Maghrib, and you're sure of it, you don't follow him. But if the Imam stands up and he misses the first tashahhud, you follow him, because there's room to fix that. There's room to fix that. Everyone understand this is what? There's room to fix that. Alright, so the Imam, he salams out too early, he's not traveling, he made a mistake. You don't follow him in that. You don't what? You make tasbih. Alright? That's the general rule. After the Imam turns around and he realizes that he made a mistake, he finishes the prayer, you follow him in that. But it depends on a specific scenario. Everyone understand this? Wallahu alam. Hopefully that's the question
Initials AB, Brooklyn, New York. Barakallahu feekum. How do you get rid of a ta'weed?
Question is from Brooklyn. How do you get rid of a ta'weed? Well, the ta'weed should be destroyed. Burn it, rip it to pieces and burn it. It should be done away with. All right? But obviously, there are different types of ta'weed. You find something in someone's house or your house versus ta'weed being put on you. What's important is generally it should be destroyed. It should be destroyed. It should be what? Desecrated and destroyed. Done away with. Wallahu alam.
Initials AB, Toronto, Ontario. Assalamu alaikum. How to deal with non-Muslim in-laws, dinners, gatherings, etc.
Questions from Toronto. How to deal with non-Muslim in-laws, dinners, gatherings, etc. There's a statement, and Allah knows best, they make overseas in the Middle Eastern countries. They say, Al-Aqaribu Aqarib. Al-Aqarib Aqarib. They say in-laws are scorpions. That's what they say. In-laws are scorpions. They sting you, they bite you, they pinch you, whatever the case may be. They run, they hide from you, they duck your head and bang. All right, that's what they say. So I think that a person has to realize and understand and learn how to deal with in-laws, period. You may have Muslim in-laws who may give you problems and trouble, who may try to run your marriage or dictate to you what to do or embarrass you or humiliate you or demand that you sit with them and drink alcohol and don't pray on time, make fun of your wife's niqab, make fun of your beard. Do your underarms look like that? They may ask you these humiliating things and mock you for trying to practice the sunnah. And I don't think that is just specific to non-Muslims. Rather, there are many Muslims or people who claim to be Muslims who often harm and annoy you and your in-laws. But the specific answer to the specific question, non-Muslims, I would say, first and foremost is ask Allah to protect you from their harm. Secondly is ask Allah to guide them. Thirdly is to ask Allah to put the truth upon your tongue in a smooth and wise manner. Fourthly is be the best in-law that you can be. Visit your mother-in-law all of the time or whenever you can. Bring her gifts, give her money, do what you can. That way when it's a Christmas party or this birthday party, this and they say I can't come, it's not as bad. And there lies no doubt someone can say something about you, but they're not going to say the same thing about you if you do a good job during other times. They're going to take that into consideration. Somebody is. Even if it's a drunk uncle, oh, he's too good for us. He can't come during our Christmas celebrations. The aunt or the grandma will say, wait, hold a second. Brother Abdullah, he just visited me last week. And he sent me flowers and he took my daughter here. Don't badmouth him like that. I would like for him to come to the Christmas party. Everyone's here, but you can't, I'm not going to allow you to what? Just drag him in the mud like that. But if you never visit, you're never around, you never do anything for them ever, you have bad character, you're mean, you're harsh, you're judgmental, then obviously you leave them no room but to attack you. Last but not least is to try to find someone who's logical and reasonable from among the family and let them speak on your behalf. Going to the mother directly or the father directly may be suicide. Talk to the uncle who has a more level head. The uncle traveled. He was in the war overseas. He met Muslims. He understands certain things. You know, I have no problem with the family, but I just can't come when you guys are drinking alcohol. I can't be around when you guys are celebrating the birth of the Son of God, according to what you say and believe. I can't be around that. And he understands and respects that. And then he can pass on the message to the mother and the drunk uncle. And he passes on the message to this one. And they won't say anything to him because he's like them. But you got to use wisdom. Outflank the enemy. Everyone understand this? And never just a frontal attack. Wallahu alam.
Hisham B. Barcelona, Spain. May Allah bless you, Sheikh. You are very dear friends.
Jazakallahu khairan.
Initials AS, Abad, Langley, UK. Assalamu alaikum. If you have heard about Ni'matullah, Shah Wali prediction of future events, example given Indo-Pak conflict, what is your view on believing it?
Type question is from the UK. The city said Langley. Abbots, Langley, UK. Have you heard of Shah Wali Allah's prediction on future events and things like this? The conflict between Pakistan and India. What is your opinion on this? So on and so forth. In general, no one but Allah knows the unseen. Principle we don't have to spend a lot of time on. It's proven in the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, and it's absolute consensus of all of the Muslims. No one knows the unseen except for Allah. Number one. Number two, Allah Azza wa Jal has the ability to show and to give his selected servants certain things. It's not impossible. And we have to be very careful when we say something is impossible for Allah. You have to be very careful when we make a statement like that. It's impossible for Allah. You have to be careful when you say things like that. All right? Allah has the ability to do as he pleases. And if he pleases to give one of his righteous servants, one of his chosen servants, some type of vision or some type of foreknowledge or some type of feeling or intuition, that's not impossible. Whether it's Shah Wali Allah or anyone else. Everyone understand this? Number three is that oftentimes people, they say, oh, this is a prediction of the future. He predicted it. And it's not always some type of soothsaying, gypsy, mystical, tarot card, palm reading type of stuff. But oftentimes it's just a person calculating and measuring things in the worldly life. So if there's a boxing match that's about to take place, and I predict and said I'm going to knock him out in the 8th round, and then I knock him on the 8th round and says, whoa, he has the jinn with him. He's predicting the future. I didn't predict the future like that, but I watched all of his films. And I've noticed that he tires and becomes exhausted in the 6th round. And the 7th round, he starts dropping his guard. And the 8th round, from my experience, that's when I'm at the peak of the match. So in most cases, I'll knock him on the 8th round. Everyone understand this? In most cases, you base it off of measurements, calculations. Or a person may take a wild guess and be accurate in that. Or a person may what? Mix a bit of this with a bit of that. My gut feeling is telling me, along with the things that are taking place. This border dispute, this person was arrested, this political person, this person. In most cases, it's going to be a major war between India and Pakistan before 20 years. And the person is right. Doesn't mean that it's jinn or unseen. It could be right or could be wrong. Everything is not a mystery to every single person. All right? So I don't know anything about that book or those statements or those predictions. Allahu Alam. That's what I believe with regards to people guessing and predicting things. Wallahu Alam.
Hayakallah Sheikh Abu Idris from Brooklyn, New York. Sometimes at work it's hard to stop for Salah. Can we combine Dhuhr and Asr sometimes?
Questions from Brooklyn. Sometimes at work and it's hard to stop for the Salah. Can we combine Dhuhr and Asr sometimes? It should be done when it's a need and when it is a necessity. And it should not be abused and taken as a daily, normal practice. Wallahu Alam.
And it shows MS, London, UK. What's your view on studying Islam in Western universities?
Repeat the question, please.
And it shows MS, London, UK. What's your view on studying Islam in Western universities?
London, UK. What's your opinion on studying Islam in Western universities? Not for everyone, not for every person, but for some people it's a good thing. And it could be a benefit for the Muslims. If you're going to study in a university, there's no way that that university can be your sole source of Islamic knowledge. And you don't go into the university with an absolute empty cup with regards to how they're teaching Islam. Because how things are taught in the university are not how things are taught in the masjid. How things are taught in the masjid are not how they're taught in an Islamic university or an Islamic institute. Okay? But there's nothing wrong with a person learning about comparative religion and a person learning the Western narrative of Islam and Islamic history and Islamic culture. That's a benefit. But that can't be your actual empty cup source of Aqidah. And the Sufi, Ash'ari, Maturidi, Athari is all okay. And it's no. I know that there's only one correct Aqidah in Islam. I've learned that from this masjid, from this teacher. And in school, I'm learning the formal history of Islamic theology and creed. When I have to talk to a non-Muslim or read history books or write a book myself, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't go in there learning every single thing. Take what you can and discard that which what is of no use and of no benefit. Also, someone who has been formally trained in the Islamic sciences and then he wants to sharpen and polish and wax his ilm. And you can't do that unless you go to a school. You learn how to talk properly. You learn how to write academically. You learn how to debate properly. And you know the proofs and the evidences and the things that the non-Muslims say about Islam. You know the proofs and the evidences that the Sufis say about the way of the Sunnah, that the Ash'aris say about the Athari Aqidah. You know what they're going to say, where they're going to come from. And this year, this person killed these people and this committed this genocide. That's the proof that they're going to use against the Ottoman Empire. The proof that they're going to use that the Salafi Aqidah isn't correct is the widespread of Sufi Aqidah. How could Allah allow it to spread to this whole entire continent in this century? 1 million people accepted Islam because of this Sufi grave worshipper. You telling me there was total batil? You understand these things from learning in that source. Everyone understand this? Wallahu alam.
M.A. Bronx, New York. What are the ways to know if someone is doing sihr or evil eye in the fanatic way? Can Sheikh know someone is making dua against you or plotting against you without seeking help from jinn?
Repeat the question once more, please.
Mitchell, M.A. Bronx, New York.
Questions from the Bronx. Tayyib.
What are the ways?
What are the ways to know that someone is performing sihr on you or on someone else? Can you notice someone is making evil statements against you, etc.? Sometimes it's a benefit and other times it isn't a benefit. The Quran clearly affirms that they will plot and they will plan and they will conspire. Many verses prove that. They will make plots and plans against you, and they will harm you and annoy you, and they will try to kill you and lock you up and prevent you from Allah's path. The Quran is full of that. It proves all of those things. So you don't stay busy with that. You don't have to spend your time and your effort, your energy in a conspiracy theory or this magician, this sahir, this jinn, because that we know that already. We know that. It's going to happen, it's going to take place. You don't stay busy with it. You stay busy with protecting yourself, and you stay busy with doing righteous action and moving forward. Moving forward. And oftentimes you stay busy, you stay stationary, and that's an easier target. Give them a difficult target. Make your adhkar, make your prayers. Stay away from haram things, bad people, and that's it. What they're thinking about you and what they're going to do to you, what they're going to say about you doesn't concern you because you keep it moving. Spiritually, you keep it moving. Everyone understand what I'm trying to say to you? If you know someone that's specifically trying to harm you, that's in your inner circle or close to you or has access to you, then that's one thing. You take precaution. Your mother-in-law, your wife, this person who lives in your house is taking your socks out of the hamper and doing sihr on you. That's one thing. Don't put your socks in the hamper. Leave that house. Take that person out the house. That's one thing. But you don't busy yourself with thinking about what harm the next person is going to do to you, which many people they do. When it comes to jinn, many people, they fantasize over the jinn. They become overzealous over the jinn. They talk about jinn, sihr, ayn, hasad. That's it. And they become consumed instead of keeping it moving. I make my salah, I make my dhikr, I make my hajj, bismillah. That's it. You keep it moving. You stay protected, you stay connected with Allah. That's it. You don't get stuck on what the next person is thinking about unnecessarily. Being aware, yes. Taking precaution, yes. Knowing your surroundings, yes. But you don't get stuck. Wallahu alam.
Mitchell, A.B. New York. Assalamu alaikum. A non-Muslim asks who wrote the Quran. How would you respond to this question?
Questions from Brooklyn. A non-Muslim asked who wrote the Quran. How would you respond? Well, of course, you have to talk to the people in the language which they understand and the culture which they understand. And there's certain things, not all things, but certain things about the Quran which are totally new and foreign to non-Muslims in a Western society. Western society, a non-reading, writing man brought this great book. And it was sent down upon his heart. And it was preserved and protected by this person. And sometimes something you just can't grasp. And that a whole entire book is the absolute word of God Almighty. Letter and meaning. That's something that Christians themselves don't believe about the gospel. They don't believe that about the Bible, Testament, Old, and they don't believe that about their own religious books, let alone something they don't even believe in, the Quran. So there are certain aspects which may be foreign and weird and peculiar to them, exotic to them. So you break it down and you explain it to them. We as Muslims believe that the Quran, everything about it from beginning to end is miraculous. Everything. It's miraculous. How it was sent down, how it's memorized, how it's recited, how it's preserved. Is it normal? And it's not just by human hands. No. It's something that is based off of faith. Divine guidance on how this book was kept safe. So everything that's tangible or mundane is not going to apply to the Quran. And that's a capital mistake that people make when they criticize the Quran. They want to make it mundane. They want to make it like any other book, and you can't do that. And if you lack faith, then there's automatically a huge percentage of things that you've already lost. And this leads us to the discussion of science, of technology, of proof and documentation. There are many things that you're not going to be able to prove to a non-Muslim. Period. And you're wasting your time trying to prove that to them. Not all things, but certain things. So, what do you mean that Muhammad wrote the Quran? Muhammad brought the Quran. Muhammad spread the Quran. He memorized the Quran. Muhammad didn't make up the Quran. He didn't author it. Allah sent it down upon his heart. And Muhammad taught it to his disciples. and we write it down, we preserved it, we translated it, we spread it, we teach it, etc. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials MR, Kent, UK. Can a woman work in a mixed environment without necessity?
Questions from Kent, UK. A woman working in a mixed environment without necessity is something that she shouldn't do. No man should be in a mixed society or mixed environment without necessity. Wallahu a'lam. Of course, there are levels of mixing and there are types of mixing, but it shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be done. There's no reason for it at all.
Initials AB, Toronto, Ontario. How to study when Arabic is average and want to study the sciences? Should one mix Arabic and English or just focus on improving Arabic only?
Question from Ontario. How to study when a person's Arabic is mediocre. They want to learn more Arabic. They don't know that much Arabic, so on and so forth. Should they mix Arabic with the sciences? A mixture of both. But the greatest percentage has to be on Arabic. And you also have to look at you yourself. Are you a multitasker or not? Can you multitask or not? But make a percentage. 100%, give 70% to Arabic. And 30% to studying the sciences in English. And that's a benefit as well. And that benefit is manifested in the limit and the cap. Is that there's certain things that you just can't learn about in English. And if you really want it, and it tastes so sweet, so nice, now you're forced to learn it in Arabic. Also, certain things that you can understand in Arabic better by reading it in English. So it's a percentage, huh? Wallahu alam.
Initials AB, Toronto, Ontario. What are good career/work options for one who wants to be a serious student of knowledge?
Question from Toronto. What are some career options for someone who wants to be a serious student of knowledge? First and foremost, you have to seek knowledge sincerely for Allah's sake, not for anything else. It's ibadah. Secondly, there are virtues of performing ibadah, and there are benefits that you get. The Prophet ﷺ was asked about men who, الرَّجُلُ يُقَاتِلُ شَجَاعَةً, a man fights to prove that he's brave. All brave men like to display their bravery. It's the nature of the human. Brave men like to show that they're brave. And they like to be useful with their bravery and their strength. الرَّجُلُ يُقَاتِلُ حَمِيَّةً, a man fights out of protection and jealousy for his people, his tribe, his family, etc. So on and so forth. They asked the Prophet, أَيُّ ذَلِكَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, what's in the cause of Allah? The Prophet says, مَنْ قَاتَلَ لِتَكُونَ كَلِمَةُ اللَّهِ الْعُلْيَا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, whoever fights for Allah's word to be the highest, that's the cause of Allah. So this is a beautiful hadith that teaches us so many things. It shows the comprehensive nature of the Prophet's speech. He didn't say that's the cause of Allah and that's not. Anything that's in for that to be is the cause of Allah. You understand? And despite all of this, the Quran affirms is that there are spoils. Akhi, Jazakallah khairan. You were requested to drink from the cup, nothing else. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless you. The Quran affirms is that there are what? There are spoils. And that there are benefits and worldly gains are fighting in Allah's cause. It doesn't mean that a person is fighting just for spoils. A person is fighting litakun, for Allah's statement to be the highest in the land. And from the benefit of that is this honor, protection, Muslims having the upper hand, so on and so forth. And the same applies to ilm. Knowledge is sought for the face of Allah, nothing else. And from the benefits of that is that Allah will elevate you, give you status. You're in front of the people. Out of 500 people in the congregation, 1,000 people, 3,000 people, you're what? The highest. Everyone's looking at you. That's status. That's power. You may find a righteous wife from being a student of knowledge. People like you, your character. You may get a job, you may get this, you may get that. But that's not your intention and that's not your purpose. So what are some career options? First and foremost, knowledge is not sought for a career. You go to Harvard or Yale or this school for a career. Medina University, you do not go for a career. And it's very important for me to say this advice to my brothers who come from certain ethnic backgrounds or certain races in which their parents give them a very difficult and hard time going overseas and studying. You come from a family of doctors, of dentists, of engineers. You come from a family of performers, musicians, whatever your family background is. How are you going to go overseas and study now? What are you going to do? How are you going to get married? It's shame to the family. And oftentimes these young brothers, they convince their parents to get their parents off of their backs by saying, well, Umi, I promise I'll go to Medina after I finish school, and then I'll be a doctor and a sheikh on the side. Or I'll be the head of this Islamic school or this center, to appease their parents. And that's wrong. You tell your parents, I'm going there because it's ibadah. That's it. And inshallah ta'ala, what are the chances of Allah wasting me and forsaking me after studying for 10 years in Medina? What are the chances of that, Umi? What are the chances of me in the Prophet's masjid every day drinking Zamzam water and come back to the United States and starving? What thoughts of Allah do you have, father? Ask your father this question. What do you think about Allah? I want to study the deen, memorize the Koran, learn the Prophet, be in the Prophet's masjid every day, and come back to America and be a bum on the streets begging for money? It's disrespectful to Allah. Let alone it doesn't make any sense. Who is the one that leads the prayer? Who's the one who teaches the people? Who's the one who writes this book? Who's the one who handles the affairs of the Muslims? Except for a learned person. So there are hundreds of jobs that you can have as a student of knowledge and as a scholar. Everyone understand this? Whether it's a school teacher, an imam, and many people, they have a bad stigma or a bad feeling towards being, there's nothing wrong with being an imam. And there's nothing dishonorable about being an imam. This imam was victimized. In most cases, he was victimized because he himself made himself a victim. This person was abused. This person was made like this. In most cases, it was his fault. And he doesn't understand how to be an imam successfully, how to be a speaker successfully. You understand? You can't blame the position off of a bad administration or a bad imam. There's nothing wrong with being an imam. And that was the dua of the muttaqeen, to be an imam for the muttaqeen. All right? So the bottom line, the point I'm trying to get to is that we have to correct our aqidah and what we think about Allah. And we have to correct our understanding of where money comes from and who provides for us and who feeds us. Last but not least, from a worldly aspect, being an imam and being a good speaker and a knowledgeable person is oftentimes one of the most sought after occupations. And Allahu Alam, how many brothers have come to me asking for imams, asking for graduates. Just the other day, where do you live? Where's your masjid? Can you come to our masjid? We need a full-time imam. Tell them, I'm sorry, I can't. And how many brothers can I call on? Who can I ask to be an imam? This brother who didn't graduate, this brother who can't speak, this brother who doesn't want to leave his city, this brother. It's the reality. So if you're an imam and you're a strong speaker, a strong person of it, there's always a need for you. There's always a need for qualified teachers. There's always a need for authors. There's always a need for translators. Let alone there's always a need for entrepreneurs. So there's so many different avenues and aspects that you can do, but it depends on you as a person. And you can't blame your mistakes and your fallings on the people all of the time. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So there are many things that you can do. And the last thing that I'll say, because I don't want to make this answer too long, keep going on, but it is important. And from my experiences, it's very dangerous and it's very common. And many people, they fall victim to this doubt about what am I going to do after Medina. I want to go to Medina, but what's after? My mother, my father getting married. What do I do afterwards? I'm going to make money. They fall victim to that. All right? As he said, he said some souls are what? Swallowed whole by that doubt. The doubt swallows them and they stop studying or they don't do anything with their studies. The last thing that I'll say is, if you went overseas and you studied in the Islamic University of Medina and you graduated and there was no other occupation waiting for you in the United States or Canada except for being an imam, it wouldn't be a what? A wasted life. It wouldn't be a waste if that was the only job that you could get. It wouldn't what? It wouldn't be a waste. Let alone in there what? Other jobs and other avenues, but it wouldn't be a waste if you were the imam. And only Allah knows what's going to happen on the day of judgment. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ, in which a brother runs from his fellow brother, you run from your wife. Who are you going to want to be your son? This lawyer, this engineer, or this imam? How many people pray for him? One Hajj trip, how many people make dua for him? How many people are going to pray for him? One question that he answers, one class that he gives. How many people benefit from him? Or your son who has a lot of money and a lot of worldly possessions. But it all goes back to what? The philosophy of the parents and the people, how they think and how they look at life, unfortunately. Wallahu alam.
Mansour, Calgary, Canada, Toronto. Is knowing there is interest in buying a new car on lease, but the car dealer works in a way to increase the price of the car and not say it's interest. Is this permissible?
Question comes from Calgary. With regards to buying a car or leasing a car, and it's interest involved, but they don't call it interest. They just put it into the actual price of the lease, so on and so forth. Is this allowed? The question has come up so many times with regards to interest and usury, credit cards, debit cards, mortgages, leasing, financing a car, etc. Here, some scholars may say, if the price of the product, the price of the house, the price of the car is enhanced and inflated, and they cut out the terminology interest, APR, whatever you want to call it. Instead of it being 40,000, it's now 45,000 or 50,000. And what you'll be paying on the side is included in the original price, and the price is fixed. It's agreed upon. The installments are fixed, and some scholars say that's permissible. And they say this is one of the ways of avoiding direct riba. So the car is normally 40,000, but now it's going to be 50,000, and there's no APR or whatever. There's no interest. It's just $50,000 flat rate. Some scholars say that that's permissible, and others they say it is a hila. It's a trick to avoid riba, but in actuality is riba. But if you actually ask yourself the question, how many options are there? How many options are there? And why do you feel that you should get a brand new 2019 car for free? Basically, you pay what? $500 a month, $600 a month, depending on your credit. Just like that, you drive off the lot with a brand new car out of their good charity? Is it just me? Or what world are you living in? What benefit does the car dealership get from you? You're getting a brand new car to drive off, and you only put down, what, $2,000, $3,000, and you pay $500 a month. How do they make money? How do they stay in existence? How do they gain and earn? Out of the goodwill of faith? There has to be what? So it's all involved and it's all connected. But some say if the price is inflated and the interest is removed, then it's different. Everyone understand this? The point I'm trying to get to? Allah surely knows best.
Initials AM London UK. Could you recommend some resources someone can use to learn the correct aqidah?
Repeat the question.
Initials AM London UK. Could you recommend some resources someone can use to learn the correct aqidah?
Question is from London. Could you mention some resources that someone could use to learn the correct aqidah? Of course, the Koran. Can't go wrong with that. That's the foundation of all aqidah. That's the best book of aqidah. Read the Quran. Okay? And of course, the hadith of the Prophet. Any book of hadith says Kitab al-Iman, Kitab al-Tawheed in Bukhari, and Sahih Muslim, Kitab al-Sunnah and Sunan Abi Dawud, the introduction of Sunan Abi Majah. Okay? That's the source of the aqidah. As far as the specific books, the things that are made specifically, summarized, specifically geared towards al-aqidah, then I would say the Islamic Creed by Jamil Zeno is an excellent book. Islamic Creed is an excellent book. Wallahu alam.
Initials AK Toronto, Ontario. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Does the person you are giving sadaqah to have to be aware that it is sadaqah?
Questions from Ontario. The person whom you give sadaqah to, do they have to be aware that it's sadaqah? Not necessarily, no. You can disguise the sadaqah. You just give it to them. Tafaddal. You have to explain. It could be zakat. It could be anything. And once you put it on their hands, it's done. They can do whatever they want with it. Eat from it, give it away, it's sadaqah. You've done your job. Class.
Initials MN, Toronto, Canada. Could you explain when Sheikh Ibn Taymiyah praised Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jailani, the Jailani? How can this be when many youth bash Sufism who follow Ibn Taymiyah?
Any questions from the UK?
No, Canada.
Canada. What part of Canada?
Toronto.
Toronto. Can you please explain where Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyah praised, he said, Abdul Qadir Jilani? And many youth who follow Ibn Taymiyah bash Sufis, and you can't say anything good about a Sufi, etc. Allah knows best where or how Ibn Taymiyah praised Abdul Qadir Jilani, exactly what he said. That's first and foremost. The way in which he said it, what he said, how he was speaking, the context. That's one issue. All right? Issue number two is, this is like putting a Band-Aid on not a broken arm, but a ripped off arm. An arm that's been ripped off. The bone and the flesh is missing. When it comes to the breach and the disconnection between Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyah and most people who claim to follow him today. If we plug this one leak, there are 50 other leaks on the boat. Ibn Taymiyah praised this Sufi here. How can the people bash Sufism and they say you can't do nothing now today? That's only one issue. There's so many things that Ibn Taymiyah did and said and wrote about and his legacy that most people who claim to follow him today don't even accept. All right? So, yani, where do you start with regards to the hypocrisy of people who quote Ibn Taymiyah when it's for them and totally ignore and neglect and turn a blind eye to something which is against their agenda? And it's not an issue of كُلٌّ يُؤْخَذُ مِنْ قَوْلِهِ وَيُرَدُّ. Everyone's statement is taken or rejected except for the Prophet. No, it's not. That's the game that they're going to play with. They use Ibn Taymiyyah's statement as its gospel, scripture. He said to him, he says, do you know your scripture? They use it as what? Scripture. There's no way you can go against it. Then when there's a statement or position of Ibn Taymiyyah that goes against their new petri dish, new made, modified GMO agenda, what they call Salafiyah, they say what? كُلٌّ يُؤْخَذُ مِنْ قَوْلِهِ وَيُرَدُّ إِلَّا صَاحِبَ هَذَا الْقَبْرِ. They say everyone's statement is accepted or rejected except for the one in his grave, the statement of Malik. That's a game that they play. Everyone understand this? When the statement is for the Ibn Taymiyyah, it's gospel. It's scripture. Everyone understand this? And when a statement is against them and against their agenda from Ibn Taymiyyah, they say what? Oh, we don't follow Ibn Taymiyyah. The truth isn't known by men, but men are known by what? By the truth. It's a game that they play. All right? So there are many things that Ibn Taymiyyah did and said and positions that he had that goes against the modern day agenda of these people that are harmful to Islam and the Muslims. Unfortunately, that are harmful to Islam and the Muslims, and they're harmful to the Sunnah and the true people of the Sunnah. All right? So there's no way you can get around it. Ibn Taymiyyah really didn't mean it. Oh, he said it, what he said. You say, I can't even go into this masjid, let alone teach in the masjid. I can't speak to this person. I can't do it. Ibn Taymiyyah did this with this person, and he praised this person, and he explained this book, and he went here and went there. It's showing that there's a major what? Huge disconnection between Ibn Taymiyyah and what you're calling to and what you call the way of the Salaf today. That's the point I'm trying to get to, and what the law is all success.
Initials LS, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Why is the Quran in the order that it is when the first surah revealed wasn't first?
Where's the question from?
London, UK.
Question is from London. Why is the Quran in the order in which it's in today, even though it wasn't the first surah that was revealed, so on and so forth? First and foremost, we have to make a difference, brothers and sisters, with regards to the Quran and with regards to Al-Mushaf Al-Sharif. The Mushaf, the book that contains the Quran, in which the Quran is written down and numbered and ordered, etc. That's the first point. Point number two is, it makes no difference of how the surahs are put in order. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. That's the word of Allah. The letter and the meaning. We say it in our prayers, we believe in it, we benefit from it. Makes no difference. Whether that was sent down, whether, makes no difference. Alif Lam Mim, makes no difference where it is. That's the word of Allah. That's what we believe. That's what we practice. That's what we call to. That's the Quran. Period. Everyone understand this? It changes nothing of our aqeedah, of our ibadah. Point number three is some of the scholars of Islam say is that the order, tartib as-suwar, the order of the surahs was ijtihad of the Sahaba. Ijtihad of the Sahaba. And that everything wasn't directly from the Prophet on what surah is to come where, so on and so forth. We know tartib al-ayat, the verses being put together, there's no doubt about that. That's tawqif from the Prophet as he instructed them. But which surah comes first, how they would compile it, is a different story. Everyone understand this? Also, the names of the surahs is a different story. Is it called Surah Tawbah, number 9? Is it called Surah Fatiha? Surah Bara'ah? 3 or 4 different meanings from one surah. Everyone understand this? It doesn't change what? Anything. What's in the surah is in the surah. The contents remain. But the name, the order, is a different story. Everyone understand this? So what I would advise anyone who wishes to get more on this subject is to study ulum al-Quran. And that is one of the sciences of the Quran is tartib al-suwar, tartib al-ayat, and the concept of the Uthmanic canon. Wallahu alam. They call it the Osmanic what? Canon. Faddal.
Initials AA, Miami, Florida. What's the status of those who argue homosexuality is permissible in Islam? Do they fall outside the fold of Islam?
A question is from Miami. What time is the Iqamah?
In 12 minutes.
Right. Those who argue that homosexuality is permissible in Islam, do they leave the fold of Islam? The scholars of Islam, they say that anyone who rejects or tries to promote something in the opposite direction which is ma'lumun min ad-dini bid-durura, which is well known by necessity. A person cannot reject this thing, it's so well known, makes kufr akbar. And a person who rejects something or accepts something which is known to a scholar or a student or a country in which there is vibrant Islam could have an excuse. So in Islam, I don't think anyone knows or anyone differs that a man cannot make zina with a woman. You can't have a girlfriend in Islam. You can't sleep with a woman in Islam. That's something which most people know, period. Unless you're in some far, far, far remote island, the Fiji Islands, the middle of nowhere. It's one thing, all right? But living in New York City, living in the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, living in the Middle East, living in the African continent, most people, Muslim and non-Muslim, know that a man can't sleep with a woman unless it's his wife. They may differ on how many wives you can have, 4, 3, 1, 2, but they generally agree that a Muslim man cannot make zina with a Muslim woman. That's well known. Muslims are not allowed to drink. It's well known. Muslims can't eat pork. That's what? It's well known. Muslims do not accept the Trinity. It's well known. Things like this. Everybody knows about Islam. So if everyone knows that a Muslim can't have sex and love and affection with a woman that isn't his wife, illa ma malakat, yani, of course, with your right hand's possession, we're not talking about that right now, then what do you think is the case about two men being together? Two women being together? Is there someone who's ignorant of that? A man and a woman cannot be with each other, no matter how pure the love is. Let alone what? Abdullah and Abdurrahman, waliyadu billah, being together. And it's permissible, and they can get married and walk down the street and hold hands and share a milkshake with what? One straw, waliyadu billah. I think, and Allah knows best, this is shay'un ma'lumun min ad-dini bid-durura. That's something that's well known from the religion. And Allah surely knows best.
Assalamu alaikum. Zay Yahya from St. Lucie was, is memorizing books mean that you know every word for word?
Questions from St. Louis. Is memorizing a book knowing, meaning that you have to know the book word for word? Some books, yes. And some books, no. Some mutun, some books you have to know word for word. And sometimes you just have the general gist of it. La bas. It depends on the book. And it also depends on the level of your studies. If you're in a school, if you're in an institute, if you're sitting with a sheikh and he requires you to memorize the metin, then it should be harfan, harfan. When you grow older, you teach, you have your students, that's a different story. You quote it in a khutbah, it's a different story. Wallahu alam.
Initials YT.
Tfaddal.
Frankfurt, Germany. What is the best way to overcome one's desires?
Question is from Frankfurt, Germany. What's the best way to overcome one's desires? Inshallah, the 27th of this month, we'll talk about that. The struggle within. Bi-idhnillah. Go online, register, inshallah. If you can't come from Germany to the US, then register online. That way you can get your spot online. It's going to be exclusive. That's what I would tell you. We've spoken on this many, many times before. Jihad al-nafs, overcoming the nafs. Inshallah, we're going to talk about it in detail and in depth on the 27th of September, inshallah ta'ala, the Struggle Within Conference. And with that being said, another reminder of that conference, inshallah ta'ala. It's going to be an exclusive, private conference, limited seats, limited space. It is not a publicized conference. It will not be live streamed if you do not go online and do what's necessary to register, inshallah ta'ala. Brothers and sisters who wish to come, no one will be allowed in fi sabilillah. There won't be any, Mufti is me. Everyone understand that? The cause of Allah will be by you what? Paying for the cause of Allah. Fi sabilillah, as the Prophet say, right? Everyone understand this? So that's going to be Friday, September 27th. The location, the time, the subject, everything is on HadithDisciple.com, Hadith Disciple Shop, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the social media outlets on the 27th, inshallah ta'ala. So once more, brothers and sisters, if you want to know, have to register, inshallah ta'ala. Also, Columbus, Ohio, on the 20th of September, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The 19th, 20th, 21st, inshallah, Columbus, Ohio, Ohio State University, Masjid Abu Bakr. And of course, there'll be other venues on the side as well. Gatherings, meetings for the shabab out there, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Brothers who can come, you should come if you can. If you can't, at least tune in online. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. Faddal.
Next is H.A. London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. How can one make the habit of waking up early, i.e. 4 a.m.?
Waking up early. You have to have a reason to wake up early. It has to be a reason. It has to be a reason. It has to be something that causes you to wake up early. Whether your body is rested enough, you go to sleep really early and your body wakes up. You want to wake up early for prayer. It's such a virtuous time. إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا. The recitation of the Quran at Fajr time is witnessed by the angels. Early bird gets the worm. There's traffic in New York City. I have to drive ahead of the people, get a good spot. It has to be a reason. Mike Tyson, they asked him, and we always quote Mike Tyson, and there are reasons why. Mike Tyson was an exceptional and outstanding athlete, and he was one of the most ardent and passionate students of boxing. It's much more than just brawn and brute physical strength. And those who say that he was a brawler and he was just based off of strength and power, they are ignoramuses, and they don't understand anything about his great legacy and his mind and intelligence as a fighter, and his work and his will and his discipline, being a disciple of Customado. Okay? So they asked Mike Tyson when he started to gain fame and notoriety, and he was winning this belt after that belt, and just, running through the heavyweight division like a hot knife through butter. So they did different documentaries and studies on him, and they noticed that he did his road work early in the morning. And it was very cold outside. He was wearing a down jacket, running, jogging for miles early in the morning, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And they said, well, most boxers, they do it when it's daylight. They box or they run when other people are running. Why do you do it early in the morning? What's so special about this time? Mike Tyson, he said, the only reason why I do my road work, I run 4 a.m., is because I know the other guy isn't doing it. That's why. In other words, I know that he's sleeping and I'm punishing myself. That's the reason why I'm doing it. And if that's not the case, then there's no reason for me to do it at 4 a.m. So there has to be a reason that inspires you and encourages you. There has to be coal for your steam engine, your locomotive to run. It has to be a force pushing you. Why do I need to get up early? Because of Fajr, because of Witr, because of Kada, because of Kada. It has to be a reason. And if you just keep saying, well, I want to get up early or I should get up early, it's not going to be what? The same. So he believed that gave him the edge over the next fighter, is that I'm working harder, I'm studying harder, I'm training more, I'm punishing myself far more than what he's doing. And inshallah, that is going to be the thing which Customado says, which causes me to deserve victory. It's Customado's words. He told his student, deserve victory. Don't just win. You deserve it. You're going to win this fight because what? You deserve to win. And the only reason why you deserve it, why? Because you look different? No, because you worked what? Harder than the next man. And what could be working harder than working when he's sleeping? And the same applies to a Muslim. Praying when people are what? Sleeping. The hadith says, "When nasu niyam." Pray at night and the people are what? Sleep. The people aren't thinking about anything except for sleeping and resting. You're worshiping Allah. The people who have businesses, they open up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I'm opening my shop at 6 a.m. So I get that person off of the street. I get the person who's going to work. I get the person who's going to the airport. He knows my shop is open. The early bird, what? Gets the worm. And that could be a spiritual worm. It could be a material worm. It could be health. It has to be a reason why you're getting up early. And Allah knows best. There's tremendous wisdom in that. Wallahu alam.
Initial AH, Birmingham, UK. Is eye makeup tabarruj? And if so, how heavy is tabarruj in terms of its seriousness?
How much time is left?
3 minutes.
Right, this will be our last question for tonight. Question comes from the United Kingdom. With regards to eye makeup, is it tabarruj, with or without niqab?
With niqab.
With niqab. Right. If you're going to wear niqab, then I don't advise you to wear kuhul or any type of eyeliner or anything like that. You shouldn't do it. It shouldn't be done. And inshallah ta'ala, if you want to wear that stuff, then you should wear a screen. You should wear a screen. If you want to wear niqab and just your eyes are out, you should not wear any type of kuhul or mascara or anything like that. It shouldn't be done. It could be tabarruj, maybe, maybe not. But it shouldn't be done. It's closer to taqwa to leave it off for sure. Wallahu alam. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi.